Greetings, gods and goddesses in training. Welcome back to the channel. It is Uncle Makara, All Relations. Today we're speaking about power versus force. Why, if you want to permanently raise your frequency, raise your energy, you have to understand this dynamic that Hawkins spoke about. Now, I'm not directly going to go into this because I do know that the Hawkins people like to be very critical of their work and who's teaching their work and so forth. But I will give you my flow state perspective on this, okay? So a lot of people are worshiping quick fixes in this generation like it's holy water, right? Affirmations, hacks, okay? Raise your vibration in 5 minutes, okay? This is a bunch of nonsense, guys. We have to first understand this. You cannot raise your vibration in 5 minutes. It's like taking a spike for a moment and then crashing like a junkie. You guys get that? So you've been mistaking the caffeine buzz for enlightenment. If you want to permanently raise your energy, you have to kill your addiction to force and finally step into your power. You're addicted to the hustle porn. You're addicted to the hustler's mentality, to take from people, to be a trick, right? To be manipulative and so forth. But I think Hawkins was laying down a kind of a cosmic map for us all, where you notice it's also referred to as truth and falsehood, okay? So that means that force is actually fake, okay? It's an illusion. That's what you have to understand first. Ego runs on force. It runs on resentment, fear, anger, revenge. It's like trying to drive your car with sugar in the gas tank. The engine rattles, smoke comes out, maybe you move a few feet, but eventually the whole thing collapses. And that's your life infiltrated by ego. But your true self, that's that raw power, courage, joy, love, contribution. So this could be another way of saying ego versus soul, right? The higher states of consciousness or the lower states of consciousness. Heaven and hell, right? You give it your own dichotomy. You stop clawing against the world and you start being carried by it. Instead of me against reality, it becomes me plugged into God, reality itself moving through me. And that's when the universe stops being a brick wall and turns into a jet stream on your back. Your true self got wounded. Somewhere along the way, life knocked you out of alignment and you built a fake persona to survive. So step one is heal. Inner child isn't hippie regression. It's remembering the raw innocence you had before the world shoved you into boxes. That spark is your innocence. It's your nuclear reactor. Trauma healing, non-negotiable. If your nervous system is fried, you'll stay in survival mode chasing shadows. But once you regulate this thing, suddenly your soul can feel like you're finally in the driver's seat again. Ooh, I can finally breathe. I'm here now. I am present. What was I worrying about, or what am I going to anticipate, right? Step two is boundaries, okay? Not a lot of spiritual individuals know how to set boundaries. I'm going to be completely honest with you. But to be spiritual, I truly think you need to master boundaries. Because otherwise, you're not spiritual. You're just letting in anything and everything. You're not using something called discernment, right? So without them, you're not even living your life. You're a puppet on society's strings, right? A six-pack culture that says, look this way. Your family says, be this way. Social media says, chase this thing. And you wonder why you feel hollow, right? Because boundaries are your sword and you're letting in everything. You're ingesting everything. You gotta let the real you emerge without being smothered by noise. I honestly think a lot of you people pleasers have to learn how to say no and consistently say no for a little while, right? Until you get the hang of it, and then you can finally accepting a few things. And as you accept, you notice the power in that acceptance, because if you're tired, if you're burnt out, and you're still forcing yourself to go to work, you're going to lower your vibration, okay? Because it's coming from a force. But what if you flowed into it? What if you had the power of your true self that emerged through that work? Would it ever feel like work? No. because you are simply showing up as you, authentically you, the most that you can be in that specific moment. And maybe in the past you didn't know any better in specific circumstances. But you got to understand, let the real you emerge without being smothered by the noise. Step 3 is meditation. Not to become some spaced out monk, but to shut the fuck up long enough for your soul to speak. 10 minutes a day is all it takes. 10 to 15 minutes, okay? And your mind will rebel, it will throw tantrums. But if you stay there, silence will slice through the chaos. And honestly, being in deep trance, being in deep meditation, being in a deep relaxation in your physical body, really embodied, feeling that, like how, you know, how yoga ends with Savasana, right? I got this from Site Prayus, one of Ryan's guys. And he was saying, like, that's a portal into understanding death, right? Because that's emergence of being in that spot, that liminal space between life and death. So when you have that mentality of life and death, it actually puts you on the driver's seat, right? And it makes you really chimed in to what you were doing. It's not just, you know, wishy-washy approach to life. It's very like concentrated, right? Focused, laser sharp, not scattered in a million different arenas. So you put these 3 together: healing boundaries, meditation, healing boundaries, meditation, and you just start looping it. And then you stop becoming a leaf in the storm and you become the storm. You stop begging the universe for scraps and you realize you are the universe expressing itself. The ones who live from ego die exhausted, bitter, and small. The ones who live from power radiate. They leave ripples centuries after they're gone. Now here's your challenge. Today, not tomorrow, you choose one. You either sit your butt down for 10 minutes in silence, or you set a hard boundary with someone draining your energy, or you do one small act of inner child reconnection. Now, if you haven't picked one yet, you've chosen ego. So what's it going to be, power or force? God at your back, or an uphill war you'll never win? You see, most of humanity is addicted to force. That's why they're tired, bitter, spiritually bankrupt. They think motivation means slapping their nervous system with fear, shame, or anger until it drags itself out of bed. That's not motivation, that's slavery. That's running on fumes, burning your soul to power a broken engine. Force is ego, force is resentment, force is I'll show them. The force always collapses in on itself. It cannot sustain, and that's why you rise for a moment, then you crash. You rise for a moment, and then you crash. But power is a different beast. Power is clean energy. It doesn't come from proving anyone wrong. It doesn't come from fear of being nothing. It comes from alignment with your true self. So when you've stepped into this higher consciousness, when you're tapped into power, you don't grind, you flow. You don't chase, you just magnetize and attract. You don't force, you allow, you welcome. The whole damn universe shifts from obstacle to ally. Your true self got buried under wounds. That kid you once were, the one who laughed without shame, created without hesitation, loved without fear. That kid got hurt. And in that moment, you built a mask, a false self. You became an actor in your own life, playing the role you thought that the world demanded of you. That's why you feel disconnected. That's why you self-sabotage, because the mask can never feel fulfilled. Only the one behind the mask can. Are we getting this, guys? Give me a thumbs up on this video. So the work is very clear. Heal yourself, like I said. Raw nuclear innocence buried inside you, reclaiming that. Trauma healing, repairing your nervous system. Your true self now runs your baseline instead of the false self, okay? Healing. Second, I said boundaries. Without boundaries, you're just molded by other people's hands, right? Every ad, every opinion, every demand now becomes your life script. Instead of what? No, me picking up the pen and writing my own damn story. That's me setting boundaries on this thing. No, you're not meant to write my narrative right now, actually. Wait, hold on a second. I'm the one with the pen, actually. Right? Reclaiming your power, bring your power back to you is very important when setting boundaries, right? If you're scattering yourself to too many people and you've trained yourself over so many years to say no, of course it's going to be a little bit fearful, right? But at the same time, once you practice all three of these together, the last one I said was meditation, right? Not some spiritual trend of meditation. I'm talking about the scalpel of consciousness. I'm talking about cosmic surgery, right? 10 minutes of silence a day is stripping off the static until you remember the frequency beneath it all. And that's the doorway back to yourself. So this Seraphic September, remember, put all these together and then something happens. You shift frequency. You stop being a puppet yanked around by lower states of consciousness, and we've all been there, okay? Maybe you're experiencing it right now. Just start broadcasting a band of courage, joy, love. Just do it now. Do it today. Life starts melting and meeting you at that level. Once you notice this, synchronicities will appear. You see? The universe bends to meet your energy because it recognizes itself in you. And when you live from ego, you're essentially living in entropy because your energy is constantly leaking, decaying, and dying. But when you live from power, you tap into negentropy. You haven't heard this one before, no. Negentropy is the force that creates galaxies, the current that pulls chaos into order, the same intelligence that organizes DNA, stars, and seasons. You don't just raise your vibration, you anchor it. You merge with the very principle that keeps reality from collapsing back into nothingness. What I found out with Ryan G the other day is people have a death drive because they crave that nothingness, because they crave the silence of the grave, right? That is the reason why they fuck up their own lives and, self-sabotage so much. They want that nothingness. Because what happens when an outlaw finally goes to jail? They've got to force structure upon themselves, right? They have to create some level of order there. So they're going from this chaos archetype to an order archetype as they're locked up. Are we seeing this, guys? So think about it. When you live in power, you're not just aligned with God, you're God remembering itself through you. So the question is no longer to you guys, on this channel I'm saying, how do I raise my vibration? The better question is, are you ready to stop being a puppet of entropy and step into being a living conduit of creation itself? That's power. Okay? It's not may the force be with you. I say may the flow be with you, because that's power. Okay? We have to drop the masks down. Okay? Enough is enough. Take it off. You are absolutely fine being yourself as you are. You don't need any trends, props, gimmicks, none of that. You are simply you, only you, and nobody else. You understand that, of course, you're interconnected with other people. That's the whole point of spirituality, to get to this oneness. But how do you remain in this oneness? That's the real code that we have to understand. Okay? So can you maintain this flow state vibration throughout your days? And not just a quick time in the morning or a quick time before you go to sleep. But can you ride the wave of this ecstatic bliss that is pulling you towards different idea streams, perhaps, different sensations, perhaps? Are you feeling through those sensations, right? And so this is where we really start understanding how our energy moves throughout the day, right? And how it reacts to other people. It's very interesting to notice this kind of stuff, guys. So if you have any questions for me, you can just type it in the chat, type it in the comments. And yeah, I'll be back in another video. I hope you enjoyed this little rant today. I was kind of interested in this topic, and I finally understood it today as this resistance or this ego, and the freedom, the liberation of my soul essence, and just noticing the difference of those two, right? The soul feels so expansive and the ego feels so limited and constricted and opinionated and so stuck in its ways and stubborn and all these different things, right? So I completely saw how different these energies are and what way to stay in the play of the field, right? You're playing in the field of the quantum to bring in a certain vibratory experience to you. So that means that you have to constantly etch yourself. This is why on our lock screens as adepts, we have microdose a smile, change your posture, and breathe into your belly, okay? And how many times are you checking your phone? So many times, right? Got this from Padmasambhava. Great technique, okay? Thank you so much, guys. I hope you're having an incredible rest of your day, wherever it is you're tuning in from. Uncle Makra out. May the flow be with you. Stay legendary. You got this. We got this. Boom.